Are you? I would. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Well, it is amazing. Every day I come to the Senate and I see the PNM, it gets better and better. The Honorable Minister of Energy spoke for 42 minutes and did not address one issue in the motion. He said, I thought he turned Rastafari because he's a minister of government. A minister of government is not a lead negotiator. A minister of government is not to travel all over the place to meet with providers of goods and services. Yet this PNM, these ministers break down every principle of corporate governance and talk about it with arrogance as if that's appropriate. The whole concept of anti-corruption or corporate governance is the principle is to keep the decision makers, the executive, the cabinet, the prime minister, the ministers, those who are going to decide, far away from the service providers. The PNM has changed that and warped it into bring them as close as possible. So the Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister going to meet with everybody, going to meet with energy CEOs, going to meet and purchase boats, going to purchase themselves Galleon's Passage, and we've turned, we've changed the paradigm, we've gone against all the principles, and today the motion is about what are you doing on behalf of the people? Where are the technocrats? What is the benefit? Why are you, as policymakers, so close to very critical trillion-dollar, billion-dollar negotiations? And the minister comes to regale us with a history of the energy sector as if we didn't read that before. Someone wrote it for him and he'd come to tell us, well, but 1908 and 1979 when they started to flare gas and so on. We don't want to know about that. That was very nice. We want to know about the tenure of this PNM when the energy sector has been decimated since September 2015 to now. We want to know about the negotiations that the very said Minister of Energy and the Honorable Prime Minister and member for Diego Martin West boasted about in 2017, that they went and there was this roadblock and the technocrats were dealing with it and they couldn't get it done, and they went to Houston and it was led by the Honorable Minister of Energy now, but he was then the Minister of National Security, and they left the then Minister of Energy home while negotiations were taking place. They feel we don't remember, they feel we sit down and we fall asleep. Then when the cookies started to crumble, because two people, and the Honorable Member Senator Wade Mark asked, what's your qualification? There's a reason we go to school. There's a reason we study hard. There's a reason we specialize in a field is to be an expert. That member, the last time I saw, he's a lawyer, but now he's a major negotiator. He don't know about chemical engineering. He don't know about gas. He come to tell us about molecules and what happened and all of that. He now learned that. But there are people who are specialists in the field who go through HR processes to be hired at NGC, to be hired in the Ministry of Energy, and all of a sudden the PNM tell all them bright people, stay in the back. We come in with a geologist and a lawyer who claim to fame is an email gate defense to negotiate on behalf of the country. And when we saw the effects of that negotiation, for the first time in history, he didn't give me that history though, for the first time in history, NGC make a loss under his negotiation, and he come to talk here today and forget all of that. NGC under Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC back in 2013, 2014 was reporting 2.1 billion US in profit. They come to negotiate and it's loss after loss after loss. Point Lisas in 2016, 2017 was up at about 74% capacity. After the great negotiation of this Minister of Energy who came in the Senate here today and his Honorable Prime Minister, by 2020, 11 companies shut down in Point Lisas. I ain't talk the refinery yet, you know. He started to talk about heritage, netting off US. Well, Petrotrin with the refinery was netting off that same US up to 2 billion US per year. They came and says all kind of people with big contract, men who's cutting lawn was getting 30,000, all kind of dramatic, nonsensical stories. When the fact of the matter is, the yoke around Petrotrin neck was the Malcolm Jones PNM negotiation for World GTL and other projects which put them in a debt portfolio of $13 billion, having to pay a bullet payment of 850 million US. They ain't paid that yet, you know. They kick the can down in 2028. We will have to pay that when the UNC becomes the government, and they are pretending that heritage, playing games with accounting, like they feel we don't read, like we don't prepare. Look, they thought they could come here and stop a debate. The UNC could stand and talk whole day. You could extend my time and all. So when we come here, and the motion is a very critical one, to talk about what is going on. You're not reporting. The Honorable Minister said, check the record. We have reported every step of the way. Well, I checked the reports. He came here today, and you see, when you don't tell the truth, sometimes your memory had to be very good. You see, when you tell the truth, you could just talk. You don't even need paper. When you're not telling the truth, your memory has to be very good, because there was a COVID time, and Trinidad and Tobago were #1 in the world because they blocked their own citizens from coming home. You can't come home. Whether it's 14 days, whether it's PAHO regulation, you can't come. They locked down. Nobody could come home. And some Oxford student, 2 of them was drinking beer somewhere, and they say, hey, that sounds good.
Mr. Vice President, please, 46-1.
I'm talking on something that was 46-1.
Senator, your argument seems to be outside the course of the debate. Can you bring it in, please? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm guided. Let me pull it back in quickly, because the honorable member knows exactly where I'm going. He gets jumpy. See, that's why he will get back San Fernando. He's just now, but he's very quick. The Honorable Minister of Energy back then was the Honorable Minister of National Security. See how quick it ties in? The same minister who's here today was then the Honorable Minister of National Security during COVID. The only human being on planet Earth who could sign a piece of paper to allow you to come home was the Minister of National Security. The only person who could sign for you to land in Piaco was the Minister of National Security. That Minister of National Security, when a plane landed that was sanctioned by the very USA that he says he's going up and down to talk with, and the plane carried Delcy Rodriguez, the vice-presidente de Venezuela, and the PDVSA officials, including Astrobal Chavez, the cousin of former President Hugo Chavez, and other PDVSA officials. At that time, as printed in the Express of May 12, 2020, the Honorable Minister of Energy, who was then the Honorable Minister of National Security, said that he had no idea who was coming, what they were coming to talk about. That Delcy Rodriguez was in charge of COVID-19 response, that she came to get hampers for Venezuelans, all of that. But today on Hansard, the Honorable Minister of Energy boasted that back then, the negotiations for Dragonfield were going on, and during COVID, that he invited Delcy, he and the Prime Minister invited Delcy Rodriguez. They came here to discuss Dragon Gas. They came here to discuss energy. He said so today, but back in 2020, he was telling a different story. He said he didn't know how they reached. He said he didn't know the plane was sanctioned. He don't do that. He's a public servant. That was a statement, but today, we get the truth. You understand? See, his problem is memory not good. Okay, my problem is
small memory.
Mother and father give me good memory. Okay.
It's a small memory.
So now we know that when those negotiations are going on related to this Dragon Gas, that Trafigura, he called out the name big and bold today. Back then they were pretending they didn't know who's Trafigura. Now if you understand and you remember why it is very important to know about these negotiations and know what is going on, because the very said Minister of Energy now, who was the Minister of National Security, who told a lot of fairy tales back then and now admits that they were discussing dragon gas. Remember, there were sanctions at that time. And remember, there was a company called Paria Fuel. And remember, a shipment of fuel left Italy under Shell, who is now being negotiated for, as the motion says, on behalf of the Minister of Energy. He negotiating for everybody. He's a super negotiator. The gas fuel left Italy under Shell. And as it came across the Atlantic, it miraculously transformed into Trafigura PTE. It pulled up into Point Lisas. It pulled up, there were 226,000 barrels of fuel. It stayed in Point Lisas for an inordinate amount of time. The honorable member, Senator Wade Mark, put a motion in the Senate. I was not here. And he asked about that shipment. And that was on Sunday the 14th, documents were created 54 days after the ship had left. Where the ship went, nobody knew. But the ship came in as Trafigura PTE, which is Wilmer Ruperti. Wilmer Ruperti is the oil czar of Hugo Chavez and Maduro, the man who became in charge of PDVSA, the man who was all over the world trying to get away and sneak around sanctions. The Trafigura PTE is a Wilmer Ruperti company. ES Euro Shipping is a Wilmer Ruperti company. So the fuel came into Point up here. I was connecting it very carefully, because remember, we are talking about transparency, accountability, truth. We've just caught the Honorable Minister telling untruths back from 3 years ago with the same oil and gas, the same players, Delcy Rodriguez and Maduro, during sanctions, which could have risked this country's status. But they come to talk about patriotism. When you heard that story, we only found out that the ship had actually come into Pointe-à-Pitre and left, because the U.S. at that same time had Coast Guard vessels in the Caribbean Sea. At that same time, they found 2 shipments packed with cocaine, 900 million, remember? The link, you're letting me link it, it's very important. The fuel ended up in Venezuela, sir. The fuel, I'm not finished yet.
Senator Roberts. Senator Roberts.
Excuse me?
You're veering further and further away from your point.
Okay,
Try not to extrapolate that much and keep it tighter. We're getting the context, but just bring it in. Yes, yeah.
I'm telling the truth. So I could give you too much context, I'll narrow it. The fuel left Trinidad and Tobago and ended up in Palo Alto, Venezuela, during sanction time. This is very dangerous. The paperwork came in here. We had no documents done for a ship, bill of lading, customer, and so on. 54 days later, some customs officer did a bill and presented it when there was a motion in the Senate, and that needs to be investigated, because there's no way a ship could leave Trinidad and Tobago without paperwork. We are a serious democracy, and we are a country of laws. Now, why are we linking all of this to Dragon? The Dragon gas, we have learned today, was being negotiated at that time. When you quote, I now quote the Honorable Prime Minister, at that time when Kamla Persad-Bissessar brought out some flight information showing that a plane with the Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, who at the time was under sanction and was under indictment by the USA, along with 15 other members of the Maduro cabinet, landed here and went face to face with our Prime Minister. Now he might be, you all might feel his PNM Prime Minister, but when you are Prime Minister, you are Prime Minister of the entire country. And they got face to face with our Prime Minister in a meeting at the palace, and the response was, The Prime Minister said, I did not know who these people were. He said, I see now, in response to Kamala Persad-Bissessar, that one was Astrubal Chavez, and he's the PDVSA, and they had other PDVSA officials. Do you all recall? But the Honorable Minister came today and said they landed to discuss drug and gas, which meant PDVSA was invited to talk oil and gas. They came here, and now the truth comes out 3 years later. So this is the motion. The motion requires, as Senator Vera said, as Senator Dr. Remy said, these are not your assets. The way they talk about I thought is soca they're going to sing, and who going to Panama. But these are not negotiations about your assets. They belong to the people. And now today we see that the two main negotiators have been less than truthful. So this motion is a very serious one. So when we ask the honorable member, what is the issue? Where are we going? What is going to happen? The sanctions that the honorable minister said that were raised, they are in jeopardy once again. We are pretending that we're burying our head in the sand, but it's a geopolitical situation. The only reason the dragon ain't danced yet is because the USA stopped the music. The USA tell the DJ play tune, but it looks like the DJ going to get thrown out or electricity will go on a blackout because it have no TGU. We don't know, but the music may stop. And if the music stops, the PNM in trouble. You want to know why? The Honorable Minister today also admitted something that all PNM should be afraid of and ashamed. He admitted that he can't walk and chew gum. He admitted here on Hansard that when they saw the amount of gas in Dragon, that was secure. Yeah, you know you have possible, probable, and proven reserves. He said it here. The Dragon gas is proven, which means you ain't have to find it again. All you have to do is try and get it. So when in 2016, they saw that that was proven, and so many trillion of TCF and so on, they get excited and they put all their focus on Dragon gas. And then you heard my colleague talk about bid rounds that fail. Imagine you put out 17 bid rounds and only 3 were taken up by the upstreamers. Only 3 were bid on. That's like you're going in a party and ask 17 girls for the number and you only get 3. That's not a very good track record. That is what they're boasting about, because they said Dragon gas is it all, and they put all the effort, and right now all the effort, the basket empty, because they miss all the egg outside the basket. So when we talk about this motion, it is a very serious motion. The Honorable Minister told the Honorable Senator Vera, and I must commend Senator Vera. When I don't agree with him, I criticize him. So I must be man enough when he speaks well and asks critical questions, I must make that point. Honorable Senator Vera was so despondent, was so disturbed by the waffling of the Honorable Minister, by the filibustering for the first 11 minutes. He did not read the motion. He didn't come to respond to the motion. He was giving us a historical lesson about Ken Julian and whoever gave ideas to come through from 79 back to 1908. The Honorable Senator Vera asked the member, sir, transparency, accountability, corporate governance, what is your role? How can you be policy maker? How can you be negotiator? How can you be finalizer and contract man? He told him, he tried to rush the senator. I said, no, I will deal with that. Well, we're still waiting for him to deal with that. If it was an all-force game, we had no cards because he ain't deal with it yet. So I am saying here that we are still none the wiser. What we have been told here in 43 minutes is, mind your business. I in charge. We win the election. We go tell all you what we could tell you, when we could tell you, and what we decide to tell you. That's not democracy. This is not a parlor. This is our resources. The US have landed in Guyana. You see, the Honorable Minister said, they went up and down to US 10 times. He went for the year. Well, me and him know, but thanks to that, that's the only information that at least he have visa, right? But he went up and down 10 times to deal with dragon gas. He even said the White House communicate with he. Well, the White House can't communicate with President Biden, so me I know how they know the Minister of Energy at Trinidad and Tobago, but we have to take his word for it. He is a truthful, oh, sorry. Let me be truthful, yes. And they said that they went up and down to negotiate to be able to get the dragon gas out, to start to invest. And they made many trips, the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister of Energy. And they got successfully the US to lift the sanctions. At first, it really wasn't nothing, but they celebrated. They nearly had a party in the Balize house that they finished, right? But I see it slow down right now. So maybe they're looking for more donations. But when you are talking about the US lifting sanctions, the US allowing negotiations, first with no cash, now with cash in different kind of currencies, as the minister said, then it is very pertinent that the US Army has just landed in the Essequibo, because the very people that the government and all of our futures are in this one dragon gas basket, the Americans are now on the side of the country that is opposed to the one we want to hug up with the dragon. And this is very critical, because the US, the minister said the US allowed, they work with the US lift the sanction, they got a 2-year license. It's not that it's get an extension now. All of that was US. Well, the US has landed on the side of Guyana. December 3rd is fast approaching. And I want to ask the honorable government, not only Minister of Energy, because a lot of them don't really listen to him anyway, yes. But I want to ask the senators, they have good people there. When they go home, they will understand. They may not answer the question now because camera on. But when they're home quietly, I just want to ask the government something. Since this is our future, and we ain't do we work and get no bid on no gas that we have. We ain't try to use technology to find more in our land, or in water blocks, or Tobago. We ain't do that. We say dragon. Okay. And Senator Sagram Singh Sukral, Honorable Attorney at Law, I want to ask her. Honorable Minister in the Ministry of the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs. Nice. I have plenty title, but deservedly so. I want to ask something. If someone you're negotiating with has no respect for the international court, international law, rule of law, natural justice, codified laws and boundaries from 1897 to 1899, does not care, calls a referendum of his people to say, I want to ignore the international court and I want to take what I want to take because I am a strong man, I have army, I have missile and I have jets. Do you feel comfortable signing a piece of paper with that person? Because you're talking about contract. You're talking about signing a piece of paper. And we have not heard the information, Honorable President, because we want to know, what's the negotiation? Because what we are hearing, and what was neither confirmed nor denied today, is that we have to put between 65 million US and 100 million US up front, because it makes sense, Venezuela had no cash, they were under sanctions for a very long time, to build pipeline and so on and build infrastructure. That means the people had to take their money away from medicine, hospital, road, school, gate, food card, all them things to try and invest in this great future with a man who ignoring and disrespecting the international court. Do you have confidence that when you don't spend our money and the gas start to flow and the man start to see money, that he tell you, I watch all you down in Tetran and all you only eating 3 meal a pail per day and all you can't fight me, and therefore the gas is mine? Do you feel confident that a man who will disrespect the international court will respect a piece of paper with you? I am very worried about that, because not only am I worried as a citizen, the Honorable Minister has told me my children's future, my 9-year-old daughter's future is in that dragon gas. So if her future is in Maduro hands, I don't feel confident, because the future of Guyana from 126 years ago is in jeopardy now, because Maduro does not respect the law, does not respect propriety and contract.
46-1, please, Mr. President.
Okay. Senator Mark. Again, Minister and Senator Mark. Please allow me to rule. Senator, so you've spoken to Venezuela, issues with that, you've connected it to this, and you've made that point again and again and again. So if you have any other points, I ask you to bring them forward now.
Not filibustering at all, but it's not only on the side of Venezuela, on the side of this government too. So it's like two negotiators who, when they say something, you can't really believe them. Because this government signed an indemnity with a man, and now in the court saying they didn't really sign it because they shouldn't have signed it, it was illegal so to do. So therefore, you have two groups making a contract that is going
That
to
is a matter that is sub judice and 46-1.
Okay, so that particular point that you just made is irrelevant to this. Again, move on.
I wouldn't say it's irrelevant, it was harsh for them, but it was just a passant, because you see it's contract we're dealing with, it's future, it's negotiation, it's gas price, and we have already seen, and we see a minister come here knowing the track record of himself in Houston, knowing that they collapsed the entire energy sector, and comes here to tell the people that he is the greatest, that the UNC is the worst, and the energy sector is booming. The Honorable Senator Gopi Singh already told you the sort of losses. No, this Gopi Singh. Not Gopi School, no. Huh? Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I know you. I bow to your wisdom. Yes, Minister Gopi Singh. Yes, that is coming shortly. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Wade Mark. I don't normally like assistance, but I enjoy that one. So, also, Honorable, we saw the Honorable Minister talked about foreign direct investment. And it's a good thing I didn't have water, because I would have choked. Because under this government, foreign direct investment is not only non-existent, it has turned and transformed into capital flight. What does that mean? It means you have negative foreign direct investment in the energy sector, that people and companies, he was boasting that because of the trust that people have in him, I don't know who know him, because nobody in the PNM knew him before 2014 when he went to defend his Honorable Prime Minister, who was leader of the opposition in Emailgate. None of the PNM ever saw him before. But he is saying that all these companies have this trust in him. You know, they put trust in him, and he is there to spearhead the negotiation. One time they tell them that he concluded the price, and this time they tell him that no, they have technocrats. When in meeting, we don't see no technocrat and no picture, no video, no nothing at all. But we saw that foreign direct investment has dried up, meaning companies are going. This government says that the dragon gas is going to provide feed for the Atlantic. But they fail to tell you what this motion asks. To keep train 1 up, the PNM said in 2020, 2021, 2022, they spent $233 million on maintenance. Okay? Because they wanted to keep it alive, even though the upstreamers, the owners, the shareholders said that debt, we have no gas for that. The PNM said, Dragon coming, because we negotiated Dragon since COVID, when we tell all it was hamper. So they spent $233 million, and that same minister came in the Senate and said, no big thing, we go make back that. But let me ask, because he didn't tell us today, how much maintenance is spent for 2022, 2023, and we going into 2024? Because the plant's still down, And the cost, one could extrapolate that if you spend 233 million in a 15, 16-month period, that the same cost should apply for the next 16 months. But we don't know because the minister didn't answer, because the minister didn't want to hear Senator Vera. He didn't want to tell us the information that we asked. He said everything is a secret and that non-disclosure is very important. It might be important to them because they should not be negotiating in the first place. So they have to keep it secret. The Honorable Minister also went on to say that methanol and ammonia, these things that they're boasting about, that we are number 1 and 2 in the world, this had nothing to do with the PNM. We number 1 and 2 in the world from since 1995 coming up the road. If it was PNM, well, it had PNM back then, but it had NAR, it had UNC, it had Tobago, it had all kind of things, it had partnership. The minister is discussing things historically, but what he failed to show is that AUM 1 and 2 closed down, that Yara closed down, that 11 plants in Point Lisas have shut down and closed down, losing over 23,000 jobs in the energy sector, but they want to keep it a secret. But if the dragon don't dance, the PNM has no music because nothing else. The minister talked about negotiating deals. I saw some of the independent senators' face. Those who study hard to understand red flags, to understand corporate governance, to understand how you keep decision makers away from goods and service providers, and they could not understand what was being said. What is a minister discussing negotiating deals? That's not a minister's job. You have people, you want to do a contract, we know tendered, we argue the procurement legislation. A minister getting actively involved in pricing, purchasing, movement of money in the billions of dollars is not on. It is a red flag, but the minister stands up here boasting and then goes on to say that he went on CNN to tell us our life good. And we couldn't understand what he was talking about, but we understand now. While we could walk out here and dead, we would bust we tire outside when we drive in. The country in a mess, you can't buy nothing in the grocery, $100 worth $60 as compared to 2015. But he's saying we life good. So he come to say he went on Quest and tell them that. What we ask here in this motion is how much you paid Quest for that interview. How much the taxpayers paid for that interview. Because Quest didn't know about the Honorable Minister. Quest didn't know about him. Quest did not call him. We are not a major player right now because since 2015, our production, our productivity has diminished on every level.
Stick a small pin there.
Yes, let me do that, yes. Now, when they can, I look at my note here, Senator Vera was brilliant. Senator Vera, we have to record that one. That was excellent, but the Honorable Minister did not answer.
Right. He was very right. Yes. He bobbed and weaved.
What? I feel I finished, sir, Mr. President, but I don't like to just leave time like that. Huh? Yes, man, because you see, I feel I will go ahead. Long time. Long time what? Right. You ain't go this circus long time?
Randall, make a contribution a little 10 minutes.
But you in cabinet.
All right.
But he's our cabinet minister.
Have a seat. So we have about 3 debates going on. And the only person who has the attention of the floor right now is Senator Roberts. So Senator Roberts, continue.
Oh, yes.
So, Mr. Vice President, Mr. President, sorry, and I should, as a senator, know that you are the president because I appreciate that greatly. I won't go through all of this, but I will just not show you, but I will just say that all of these are articles regarding the tensions that are existing in our neighborhood. in the Essequibo. These things are related to the dragon gas because of the players who are playing. On one side, you have the USA and Guyana. We want the USA to uphold the license, to extend the license, to allow Venezuela to conduct business, for us to be able to pay and negotiate. If that...
Senator, you have 5 more minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. If that goes away, so does dragon gas. It is a very important, critical aspect. I saw the Guardian newspaper wrote that, and I thought I would have liked to hear some of that today from the Honorable Minister. The Guardian editorial said that the Keith Rowley Prime Minister Diego Martin West administration was in a very titular key position to be able to handle or lead diplomatic talks and cessation of intensity and fight between Guyana and Venezuela because of the negotiations with the dragon gas and the great relationship that the Honorable Minister of Energy spoke about today. Now, the Guardian, they probably ran out of space. They forgot to tell us how or what the government was doing in that vein, because thus far, the PNM has been absolutely silent as a Trinidad and Tobago government on the issue of Essequibo. Or the only statement coming out of the government was that CARICOM position is our position. Well, CARICOM is not negotiating our children's future with dragon gas. As the minister said, everything is dragon gas. All trips, 20 trips, everything for the last 5 years. In the COVID, Delcy Rodriguez visit, Astrubal Chavez coming, everything USA going up to Congress has been dragon gas. Dragon gas is their football. Dragon gas is their LeBron James. But now it is in jeopardy, and the PNM and the Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Energy came here today and did not say anything. Because had the minister read the motion and come to the Senate and say, listen, we understand the situation. We are not only going to negotiate gas price and so on to get and monetize that dragon field, but we are going to ensure that the cessation of hostilities is forthwith, so that we have put a strong team to go there, to sit down as the arbiter between Guyana and Venezuela, because we have a great relationship with Maduro. The Honorable Prime Minister danced the conga line with Maduro. The other minister has been sitting cross-legged with the Delcy Rodriguez on 10 different times without any technocrats. We did not hear that. So therefore, we are worried because everything is a secret, and Trinidad and Tobago's future has been put on hold by the PNM because all the eggs in that basket, but the basket looking weak, the basket looking like it gets soaked, the basket look like everything is going to fall out. So let me just say on this motion that I support my honorable colleague. I support the request from the independent bench. You don't hear that much from me. But I support the request for information. We are seeing a trend in this government, a sort of hubris and arrogance in their statements about tea and tech bills, that we must show the people what the electricity really costs. But the electricity really costs. The reason it's cheaper is the gas and the oil belongs to the people. So I don't understand what you're trying to tell the people. Is the oil and gas the cabinet own? Is the oil and gas the circus own? No, it belongs to the people. So take the motion seriously. Bring the information. We want to know what is the position between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago and the USA, Trinidad and Tobago and Russia, Iran, and getting involved and mortgaging our children's future. We have heard nothing from the Minister of Energy today that could make the population feel that we are in good hands. We have a track record of 8 years of demise of the energy sector. We refine nothing, we make nothing, we had no bitumen. The Point 14 highway are more pothole than Diego Martin, and Trinidad and Tobago is in a total state state of chaos. The minister came here today, had an opportunity to be humble, to show, to share information, to bring forth, to answer, to appease, to let us know that the future is bright, that we will have money for children for gate, we will have money to fix road, we will have money for sports so children, footballers would not have to play on ESPN with a name blank out and wrong name coming through and so on. We hope to hear that. We have no confidence in this government. We have seen the Minister of Energy tell untruths, and he admitted today, and now we say in this motion that we are calling upon the government to give all the information and be forthcoming about Dragon Gas and every negotiation about the people's assets. Thank you, Mr. President.